welcome back. So today we're jumping in the time machine, setting the dial for the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
We're talking about the Nintendo Game Boy. You know, that gray brick that pretty much changed everything for gaming.
It really did. That iconic green screen glow.
Yeah,
It looks simple, but wow, what an impact.
totally. And we've been looking at some really interesting stuff about that whole era, pulling out the key bits on how it all happened.
Yeah, and I bet a lot of this will sound familiar to you. The idea is to really get into what made the Game Boy so special, why it wasn't just another gadget.
Exactly. It's more than just nostalgia, right? It's about this fundamental shift in how we played, how we
Yeah.
connected even. So let's start at the beginning. Where did this whole idea come from?
Well, we really have to start with Gunpei Yokoi at Nintendo. He was a real visionary. Before the Game Boy, he had already had huge success with the Game & Watch series.
Oh, I remember those. The little single game handhelds. Surprisingly addictive.
Right. They showed Nintendo there was a market for gaming outside the house. But Yokoi was thinking bigger.
And he had that philosophy, lateral thinking with withered technology. Sounds a bit strange, but it was crucial, wasn't it?
It was genius, really.
Yeah.
Instead of using the absolute newest, most expensive, power-hungry tech, he focused on using older, proven, cheaper components in new, clever ways.
Makes sense for a handheld. Battery life and cost must have been huge factors.
Absolutely critical. He deliberately chose not to go for a color screen, even though the tech sort of existed.
Yeah, unlike the competition, right? The Atari Lynx, the Sega Game Gear,
Yeah.
they had color, but the battery life was, well, awful.
Exactly. Those things chewed through 6 AA batteries in like, what, 4 or 5 hours? Maybe less.
Yeah, something like that. Constantly needing new batteries.
Whereas the Game Boy, with its monochrome sort of olive green screen, could run for 10, sometimes up to 30 hours on just 4 AAAs. That was a massive, massive selling point.
Huge difference. So it launched first in Japan, April '89, then North America a few months later, and Europe in 1990.
Yeah, and the timing couldn't have been better. Nintendo was riding high on the NES success. People trusted the brand.
So there was already an audience ready for it.
Definitely. And they priced it right, around $90 US accessible.
And then the killer move, bundling it with Tetris.
Oh, that was a master stroke. Pure genius.
Why Tetris specifically?
It just had this universal appeal. Didn't matter if you were a hardcore gamer or had never played anything before, anyone could pick it up.
Simple, addictive.
Incredibly addictive. Perfect for showing off the portability, that just one more game feeling. That bundle, Game Boy plus Tetris, it just exploded.
I set the stage for everything that followed, really. Okay, so we've got this affordable, long-lasting machine. Let's talk about the tech itself and the design. It seems so basic now.
Oh, totally. Specs-wise, an 8-bit processor, barely over 4 megahertz, 8 kilobytes of RAM, that 160 by 144 pixel screen, 4 shades of greeny gray. It sounds, well, ancient.
Like, compared to even our phones today, it's nothing.
Right. But again, that simplicity was its strength. Well, first, it was relatively easy for developers to make games for it. That meant a huge library, tons of variety, which we'll get to.
Oh, okay.
And second, as we said, those modest specs were key to that amazing battery life. It was all about that trade-off. Portability and playtime over raw power.
Like choosing fuel efficiency for a long trip.
Got it. And the physical design. That first model, the DMG-001. Chunky is the word.
Yeah, it was a brick, but a really tough brick. That off-white plastic could take some serious abuse.
Oh, yeah. Dropped mine plenty of times. Survived school bags, everything. Indestructible.
Pretty much. And the layout was just perfect, wasn't it? Comfortable D-pad, those A and B buttons, start, select, simple.
Even the volume wheel and the contrast dial. Easy to adjust. No messing about in menus.
Exactly. And the cartridges felt solid, clicked in nicely. It just felt reliable, like a dependable toy, not some fragile piece of tech.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
Very user-friendly. Okay, hardware sorted. Let's dive into the games. And obviously we have to start with the big one, Tetris. The kingmaker. Absolutely. We mentioned the bundle, but its impact went way beyond launch. It sold something like 35 million copies with the Game Boy.
Wow.
Its appeal was just so broad. Kids, parents, grandparents, everyone seemed to get hooked. That core gameplay loop is just perfect.
So simple, yet so deep somehow. Always thinking you can get a higher score.
And 2-player mode. Using that link cable. That was a huge part of it too, wasn't it?
Oh man, yes. Those head-to-head Tetris battles could get intense. It made it social.
That link cable was such a clever addition, especially back then. face-to-face multiplayer. But Nintendo knew they needed more than just Tetris. They needed their own big names on there.
Right, and they delivered. Super Mario Land came up pretty early.
Yeah, the Mario Land games were great. Bit quirky, different from the console Marios, but really fun platformers.
And wasn't Super Mario Land 2 where Wario first showed up?
That's the one. 6 golden coins. He was instantly popular, spun off into his own Wario Land series, also brilliant on Game Boy. It proved Mario worked on the small screen.
Definitely. Then there was Zelda Link's Awakening. That felt huge for a handheld game.
It was incredible. People weren't expecting that kind of scale, that kind of emotional depth from a Game Boy game.
Right. A proper epic adventure.
Totally. Koholint Island, that dreamlike world. It had amazing dungeons, a great story. It's still considered one of the best Zeldas by many. Really showed what the hardware could do if pushed.
It just sucked you in despite the, 4 shades of green.
Yeah, the design overcame the limitations. And then you had Kirby's Dream Land.
Ah, Kirby, pure charm.
Exactly. Really accessible, great for younger players or people new to gaming. Those inhale and copy abilities were fun even back then. Just widened the appeal even more.
But then came the real game changer. Late 90s, Pokemon.
Oh boy. Pokemon, Red and Blue, well, Red and Green first in Japan. That wasn't just a game release, it was a full-blown phenomenon.
It took over everything. Schools, playgrounds. What was it about Pokemon?
Satoshi Tajiri's idea, inspired by his childhood bug collecting. It just tapped into something primal. Collecting, training, battling. That slogan, gotta catch 'em all. It worked.
It really did. And the link cable suddenly became absolutely essential again, didn't it?
Crucial.
Yeah.
Trading Pokemon to complete your collection. Some were exclusive to each version, remember?
Yeah. You had to trade with friends who had the other version. Genius marketing.
And battling. It created this whole social scene around the Game Boy, face-to-face. It gave the system a massive second wind. Sales surged again.
It really extended its lifespan. And then Pokemon Yellow came out, letting Pikachu follow you around like in the anime.
Yeah, tying into the TV show just amplified it even more. But it wasn't just Nintendo and Pokemon. Third-party support was strong too.
Definitely. Capcom brought Mega Man over. Konami gave us handheld Castlevania and Contra. Squaresoft back then, they had the Final Fantasy Legend games, Final Fantasy Adventure.
A really wide range. RPGs, action, puzzles. You had unique stuff like Gargoyle's Quest, Metroid the Second, Return of Samus, which was this really atmospheric exploration game.
Oh, Metroid the Second was great. Very moody.
The Donkey Kong game from '94, which was almost a puzzle platformer hybrid. Really clever. Even things like Harvest Moon GB. The variety was huge.
Yeah, it wasn't just one type of game. There was something for pretty much everyone. So the hardware worked, the games were there. What about the broader cultural impact? How did it change things?
Fundamentally, it made gaming portable. Properly portable. With deep games, not just simple LCD things. Gaming on the go became a real concept.
I remember suddenly seeing them everywhere. On the bus, long car trips, waiting rooms were transformed.
Yeah, the world became your playground, in a way. And it wasn't just kids. Because of games like Tetris, adults got into it too. It broke down those demographic barriers.
My parents definitely played Tetris on mine.
See? And that link cable aspect, in a world before easy internet access, that social connection was huge. Kids gathering, trading, battling in person.
It was a real social event. Very different from online multiplayer today, maybe.
Definitely a different vibe. More tangible, perhaps. And the Game Boy itself became iconic. You saw it in movies, TV shows. That little bing sound when you turned it on, instantly recognizable.
Oh, yeah. And the accessories. Remember those screen magnifiers, the little lights? The light boy?
Essential for playing under the covers. And rechargeable battery packs, carrying cases, cleaning kits. Even the Game Boy printer and camera later on. Wild stuff.
People really made it their own. It was more than just a console. It felt like a companion.
Exactly. A companion, a boredom buster, a social tool. It left a huge cultural footprint in the 90s.
For sure. But as the decade went on, those competitors with better tech were still around. Why did the Game Boy keep winning?
We keep coming back to it, but it was that core strategy. Affordability, battery life, and crucially, the games. Nintendo's first-party stuff was amazing, and that huge user base meant third parties had to be on Game Boy.
It created its own momentum.
Exactly. Plus, they didn't just sit still. Mid-decade, they released the Game Boy Pocket.
Ah, yes, the Pocket. That felt like a big upgrade.
It was a great refresh. Smaller, lighter, used AAA batteries, which were easier maybe. And critically, a much better screen, true black and white, better contrast, much sleeker.
And it played all the old games, right? No library
Yep,
loss?
full backward compatibility, and it came in all those cool colors. Kept things fresh.
Smart move. And then finally, towards the end of the 90s, color arrived.
The Game Boy Color, October 98 in Japan, rolled out after that. That was the true successor. Proper color screen could display 56 colors at once, apparently. Faster processor, too.
Big step up.
Yeah, but again, the genius move was making it backward compatible. All your old gray cartridges still worked, just maybe with a bit of added color palette.
So you don't have to ditch your collection. That's huge for keeping players on board.
Absolutely. And it paved the way for new games designed for color, like the enhanced Link's Awakening DX, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe.
And the next Pokemon wave, right? Gold and silver were GBC games.
There were. Took full advantage of the color. The Game Boy platform just kept dominating right through the decade. By the time the GBC launched, they'd sold something like over 60 million of the original and pocket models combined.
Just staggering numbers. Testament to getting that initial formula so right.
It really was. More than a toy, like you said. It made gaming personal, portable, social, changed the landscape.
Yeah, Yokoi's philosophy, the battery life, Tetris, Pokemon, the link cable, all those pieces just came together perfectly. Its influence is still felt today, in handhelds and even mobile gaming.
No doubt about it. A true icon.
So thinking back, for you listening, what's your defining Game Boy memory? Was it conquering Tetris, finally catching that elusive Pokemon, or maybe a specific game you poured hours into on a long trip? We'd love to know what sticks with you.
Yeah, great question.
Thanks so much for joining us on this trip down memory lane. We'll catch you next time for another conversation.